A bunch of new Marvel Epic collections got announced for 2025. Some of them kind of controversial here, and we're going to talk about that in just a bit. And interesting stuff all the way around. The Epic collections is something I've really loved. I think they're fantastic. They're like 400 to 500 page books, which collect all the classic stuff. They've started doing these modern Epic collections, which I'm a little less thrilled about because they're just printing a bunch of the new stuff and then not finishing off the old stuff as fast, which I really want full sets of like the old Amazing Spider-Man and things like that. But it's going along and it's pretty much hitting all of Marvel history. Now, there's a bunch of titles that have been left out so far, have not even started, and that's where the controversy is going to get into as to what was joined in this. It's kind of interesting, Marvel's strategy here. We'll see how it goes. Now, a lot of people have noted also that the Marvel, the modern ones, are just reprints of what were epic or complete collection, or rather complete collections or ultimate collections from the last 10 years. It seems like they just put a new cover on it. And that seems to be the case with a lot. It just seems Marvel's just recycling content to make it a little cheaper and easier, I guess. So I hope that they do actually get into stuff that's really not as collected, not as seen, because that's the type of stuff that we're looking for, right? And that will be it. All right, before we get into all these books, I write my own books, guys. My name's John Delarose, and I make wonderful science fiction graphic novels. It's on Kickstarter right now. You can see that we've raised over $22,000 for The Hidden Emperor. Grab this book. You'll be absolutely thrilled, especially if you like the classic stuff. We really aimed for doing a lot of work aesthetically and in the writing in the style of like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s comics. And I think you'll be very, very pleased if you check out this work. Thank you so much for supporting independent comics. We can't do this without you. You're amazing readers, and I appreciate you. That link's in the description below. Thank you so much, and please hit the like and subscribe button and join us in our comic discussions here on the channel. All right, so the first one from February is Amazing Spider-Man Epic Collection, Volume 11. Nine Lives has the Black Cat. Amazing Spider-Man usually comes out with 2 books a year. I'm glad to see this, but man, there's a missing volume in Amazing Spider-Man, which never gets reprinted. They keep going on with like further into the Clone Saga. It's volume 16, and I'd love to have that thrown in there because as we're going through the beginning, you could have a complete run of 15 to 27, and yet they never print it for some reason. It's right before Kraven's Last Hunt, and I'm just waiting for it. It's so sad. But I look forward to this. The introduction of the Black Cat kind of gets Spider-Man back on track again after kind of a lull in its quality for a while. This is a good spot. Next is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2, Quest for the Shield. And Guardians of the Galaxy really didn't exist for a long, long time. There was the 70s run, and it was completely different than what you were expecting. I actually loved it. It was actually more of a Star Trek sort of concept than was the modern Guardians of the Galaxy. This hits a few of their appearances, and then, of course, in the 90s restart for their series. So this is pretty interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to reading this one as well. Young Avengers Modern Era Epic Collection. So again, they're getting into the modern stuff. There's already been complete collections of this. This was the beginning of Young Avengers. Captain America Epic Collection 17. This is a reprint of one that's already out there, as I recall. It says new printing. Let me confirm that. Yes, this is one that's already out there. And Daredevil Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 4. King of Hell's Kitchen. And I believe this is into the Brubaker era. New Mutants Epic Collection Volume 4, Fallen Angels. New Mutants is getting a pretty solid amount of their run done. And so we have 1 through 3 already, then 5, 6, 7, 8. So this will create an epic run for you to be able to read all the way through. Amazing Spider-Man, and we already covered that for February. So let's get into the next month, if I can get out of this this deal here. I am having trouble getting into this because I can't manage Facebook. So that's February. Once you get into March, we have Fantastic Four Epic Collection Volume 11. This is collecting 192 through 214. This is just starting to get the tip of the John Byrne era. So we've had a lull again in kind of quality of Fantastic Four. It's actually been better than I expected it would be. But this is where it starts to get really, really good. And so I'm so hype to start reading this part of Fantastic Four, some of the best comics ever. This is where we've got controversy coming on. So Ultimate Spider-Man Epic Collection, Volume 1. Now, they didn't label this a Modern Era Epic Collection. They labeled this like just an Epic Collection. So now, Ultimate Spider-Man to me is kind of a modern jumping on point for Spider-Man. So I would have put it as a modern Epic Collection because this is kind of silly, and it leads into the Miles Morales thing eventually. So it is like something that this is where it's kind of a controversial choice to put it as an Epic Collection. It's also controversial that they're coming out with this and not coming out with like Spectacular Spider-Man or Marvel Team Up, some classic lines that are like, why are you starting this one and not those? So interesting stuff. You know, this was pretty good comics when it did come out. It actually does read pretty well. So there is that on this level, but interesting choice for Marvel to do. With this, Miles Morales is getting in a Modern Era Epic Collection to start. Not surprising there as they keep pushing that character. Wolverine Epic Collection Volume 15, Law of the Jungle. So this keeps the Wolverine epics going further. Now, Wolverine is missing a few epics as well. They have 1, 2, and 3. They never printed 4 and 5, and yet then they have 6, 7, 8, and 9 done, and then they never printed 11 and 12. So why are they going forward in time and not doing those as well? I don't know. Who knows with Marvel? Astonishing X-Men Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 2. This is the Joss Whedon stuff, kind of capping off that run. And that is your March Epic Collections. So for April, we have ROM Epic Collection Volume 1. Now, this is interesting to me because I wasn't sure they were going to come out with these. So I actually bought the omnibuses thinking maybe this will never happen. And so I'm kind of glad about this. That means I could sell off my omnibuses on this level, which I don't like reading those. They're a little too big for me. I don't like, you can't really hold them. And this is a little better. With this, I'm hoping like there's going to be some reprints coming up where there's missing issues where ROM and Micronauts or whatever guest star in different Marvel comics. That'd be really cool for them to reprint those and like have new editions of those to where we could get a complete run finally. Ultimate X-Men, of course, with Ultimate Spider-Man. Now Ultimate X-Men is coming out with a Volume 1 as well. I already mentioned the controversy around that line by itself. But if they're going to do the whole thing, I hope they do the whole thing. Black Widow Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 1 Itsy Bitsy Spider. This is, again, a complete collection that got rebranded, basically. Devin Grayson did a lot of work on this, and they introduced the blonde Black Widow through these as well. These are really good miniseries. I liked these quite a bit. And then Amazing Spider-Man Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 1 coming home. This starts with J. Michael Straczynski's Amazing Spider-Man as the modern era. Interesting, because I was wondering where they were going to delineate what's a modern era and what's the old era, and I guess it goes up to Straczynski. Interesting choice on that level. There are a couple complete collections of Amazing Spider-Man by Howard Mackie before this, so they'll probably just reprint those like that, and then reprint these, which are complete collections in the Straczynski sort of deal, just like this. I would have started the modern era with either the #1 or with Brand New Day, because like depending on where you as a Spider-Man collector, you know, when they ended the old Amazing Spider-Man, that's kind of the end of an era. Or when, not really when Straczynski started, but when Straczynski ended and they reset continuity, that's kind of where the modern changed. So it's very interesting that they call this the modern era start. I don't know, controversial choice maybe as well. And Ghost Rider Danny Ketch Epic Collection Volume 6. So we already have Ghost Rider by Danny Ketch, Epic Collection Volume 1. Is it Volume 1 or is it I don't know exactly. But there is one at least. It looks like this is not exactly in order on that level, which is interesting on that level. But those are fun books. And then Defenders Epic Collection Volume 3, World Gone Sane. Defenders is another one that like they have a lot already printed, and then they took a few years off printing stuff before getting back to it. They started with 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then 1 and 2 covered the omnibuses, and then this gets past the omnibus of Defenders, so we can start getting perhaps that whole run very shortly. X-Men Collection, Mutant Genesis new printing. This is a very popular one, of course. And Amazing Spider-Man Venom reprinting is also coming out in April. Now let's get into May. May starts out with a Avengers Volume 12, Court Martial, the Jim Shooter era. I'm looking forward to reading this stuff a lot. So really cool stuff from Avengers. And of course, having all the way up through Volume 12 Uninterrupted is a really cool read as far as this goes. Actually, 13 has already been announced as well. So you only need 14, 15, and then you can have after this, and you'll have a full run all the way up to 26. So a big, long Avengers run. The Ultimates, of course, since we got Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Spider-Man, Mark Miller's The Ultimates, which a lot of the Avengers movies were based on. This is quite the historical book right here. Will be interesting to read again after all these years. Thunderbolts Epic Collection, Volume 3. I love the Thunderbolts. And this is actually where I started reading it when it was actually in issues. I missed the Kurt Busiek era, and this gets into Fabian Niciez's bit, and this is where I took it up. And this is what I remember the Thunderbolts being. I think I started around one of these issues. Great stuff. Really good comics from the 90s. Underrated. New Avengers Modern Era Epic Collection, Volume 3, The Initiative. They're going through the New Avengers, of course, and adding that to things, which, again, that's a complete collection thing that's getting rebranded. Miles Morales Modern Era, Volume 2. They're coming out with those Miles Morales ones really quick. Deadpool Modern Era, Volume 5. Of course, they're putting out some Deadpool stuff. And Fantastic Four Epic Collection, Volume 18, The More Things Change. Now, this is a pretty interesting one right here. This is a reprint. Okay. And that is it for May. So quite a bit of interesting stuff so far. Annihilation Epic Collection Volume 1. I just read the omnibus of this because they were doing Guardians of the Galaxy Modern Era, and Guardians of the Galaxy takes place after Annihilation. So I wanted to read that first. And gosh, all I had to do was wait for this one for next year. Oh well. Good stuff. This is a great story and a lot of fun. So they're collecting the whole thing. Looks like they're splitting up the omnibus into 2 volumes. New X-Men Modern Era Volume 2, so this will give you the Grant Morrison run to go with your Astonishing X-Men Joss Whedon run. Iron Man Epic Collection Volume 7, 10 Rings to Rule the World. Yeah, I'm surprised they're only on Volume 7 for Iron Man, like old stuff. It's kind of a slow burn for that series, and a lot of people haven't read a lot of this material before. They've got a lot of the later stuff already collected, but this one's going slow getting up to Volume 10 that's already out. Silver Surfer Epic Collection Volume 12. We have the next 2 volumes, so interesting they went there rather than, again, just going kind of in order. But I've been loving the Silver Surfer as a whole series because it's just really interesting and different stuff, and probably the best. I like stuff I never read when I was a kid, but I'm very excited to read now. With all the other Ultimates, of course, we get Ultimate Fantastic Four in this collection as well. This one really didn't get as much attention as the other Ultimate series back in the day. We'll see how it is. And that's it for June. And then finally, we get July's list. We had ROM, and now we have Micronauts. Again, like I bought these omnibuses thinking they're never going to reprint epics of these. But somebody in the forums told me, hey, it's a good idea to just keep your omnibuses for now, just in case, because remember what happened with Masters of Kung Fu. They never actually went through and finished that because they lost the license. So don't hurry on this stuff to get rid of your old editions. Micronauts is some of the best comics out there, so this is good to have for epics, of course. Thor Epic Collection Volume 25, Dark Gods. This is an interesting one. Again, kind of controversial. It's like, where do you restart Thor as a modern Epic Collection, which I know they've already announced the JMS as the kind of modern start for that as well. But again, they started with an all-new #1 after Heroes Reborn, and this is where there's a cutoff and change to an all-new #1. I kind of would have called this the modern era start, personally, but they're going with the end of it here. Now, I'm interested because I don't, like, Thunderstrike is a series that spun out of this. I'm wondering if it really hasn't been recollected in between these sorts of things. I want to see that, definitely. Captain America, Epic Collection Volume 7, The Swine. Again, just kind of on the same level where Iron Man is, which is its first 7 volumes, but they skipped around a lot in the early printings. This is Jack Kirby's era as he returns to it for the first time since the 40s. Good stuff, really good comics. Deadpool Epic Collection Volume 7, Agent X, as they continue along with that, and the Agent X series from 2002. Star Wars Modern Era Volume 2, and I think this is the Kieran Gillen Star Wars, if I recall correctly, but Modern Era stuff. Iron Man Modern Era Volume 5, The Iron Age, and this is a interesting story from like the 500s. I don't think I've ever read this stuff. Daredevil Modern Era Volume 6. They're getting the Daredevil stuff into print fast. Again, these were complete collections of Bendis and Brubaker's sort of epic run for a while there. So they probably want to get the whole run in print again. And that's it. So that's the full announcement right now. Interesting stuff, interesting choices with the Ultimates, interesting choices with where they're moving the line for Modern Era versus not. Leave a comment down below with what you think about those. Do you think they've made good moves on that or not? Hit the like and subscribe button. Of course, back to Hidden Emperor on Kickstarter right now. Thank you for checking out. Great comics. We'll be back soon.